Welcome to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. My name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. Our objective is to enthuse, inspire, energize, and empower entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs of all stripes here in BW and beyond. We do so by inviting these entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs into our makeshift studio. Sometimes we call them to the restaurant, sometimes we go to our studio, and we ask them to share their experiential knowledge, their experiences and their expertise. And we ask them as many questions as we can, aimed at empowering you also as a viewer. Hello dear viewer and listener, my name is Mompoloki Lerumo Mogobe. I'm excited, I'm elated, I'm invigorated to welcome yet another guest to Mogobe Nuggets of Wisdom podcast. It's always a thrill, a pleasure to welcome yet another guest to the show. We're going to talk about motivational issues. My guest is a motivational speaker of note. He's an author. He also happens to be my PA. Currently, he's also helping with our HR department. And his name is Andyle Mhlanga, but I prefer that he describes himself. Can you go ahead and tell the viewers who you are?
Yeah.
Tell them your story.
No, thank you for having me on your podcast. I love it. I follow it very closely. And it's a privilege to be here. My name is Thabo Andyle Mhlanga. I'm a personal development coach. I am a motivational speaker. I'm a qualified pastor. Some people do not know that. Under my belt, I've got 3 books, mainly When Dreams Don't Come True, Mended-Broken Before the Blessing, and Elevation. So those are the books I've written, all on different topics of personal development and helping an individual not discover themselves, but reveal what they have within.
Okay. I like the pastor part. Are you ordained? How did you become a pastor?
Yeah. So I went to school. I went to school 4 years, studied theology, came back and started serving.
Solusi, right?
Yeah, Solusi. Yeah, I started serving at the South Botswana Conference. I served for 2 years until the human in me couldn't handle the pastor life. And there are people who do not get to understand that you may be a pastor, but you're still human. Some use it as an excuse, but I think it's a reality that most people try and fight over.
Okay.
Yeah.
Our conversation is going to rotate around one of your books called Mended, but not what?
Broken Before the Blessing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you explain the title?
Yeah, Mended. I think it came from a place where I was going through my healing phase, and I think we'll touch on this as we go deeper into the topic. I'm coming from a healing space, and I am talking about how you mend yourself, how you are broken before the blessing, because at times you are broken so that the blessing can be revealed. Some people never get to see the blessing until they are breaking. So I think I was one of those who went through a whole lot of traumatic experiences, which broke me, which tore me down. And at the end of the day, when I managed to use those pieces of brokenness, I managed to see my blessing out of that.
Okay. Before we go deeper, can you explain a little bit about your company?
Yeah.
The motivational entity. What is it called and what does it do?
Yeah, it's Acers Development Agency. Acers does a whole lot of team building, a whole lot of personal development and organizational development for corporates. So I touch on team building, how to gel as a team, how to work together as a team, how to have a vision as a team, and where you pick up from nothing to something as a team. So it's mainly around team development and organizational structures within organizations.
Okay. And it's operational throughout the country?
Yeah, it's operational throughout the country. I've traveled to South Africa, Zambia, Zimbabwe to do team buildings. And Botswana, I've done a whole lot of big organizations who call me to come and do their organizational development and their top leadership strategies.
All right. Let's start with the first chapter in the book where you talk about the blessing of what is within.
Yeah.
Perhaps you could just unpack that topic for us.
Yeah. Well, I'm a strong believer of saying everyone has got something within. Everyone's got something hidden within them. They may not realize it. They may not tap into it at any given time. But what happens is when you start to be self-aware of what it is and what your potential is, and when people start to realize that within you, I call that the blessing of what is within. And within that chapter, I speak about the power of I. The power of I. When you say, I can do it, I can manage, I can succeed, I can. And I reference the verse, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. So the strength comes from Christ, but the ability to do it, whatever Christ gives you the strength to do, comes from you. So it's what's within, what is burning within, the fire that's burning within, to say, I am able, I am capable, I can. I always say to people, the difference between an idiot and I do it is where you place the I. Is where you place the I.
Say that again. That's beautiful.
The difference between an idiot and someone who says I can do it is where you place the I. So the idiot, the I comes before the I do it. So with the I do it is someone who believes in themselves. An idiot is someone who will sit and say, okay, I can't do it.
Okay, you talk about power and authority. It's almost like you're saying that we are mini gods. We are gods with a small g. We have dominion.
And when you read the book of Psalms, he says, I have made you lower than gods. You are higher than angels. Right? To simply say, even when he says, let us make man in our image, he's saying, I am giving them dominion and power and authority to rule, to conquer, to lead, to find within themselves the abilities that Christ has in heaven whilst we are still here on earth. So this is why I believe every individual has got a certain level of God-given talents that they can use to influence their spaces wherever they are in. You can be a leader in a small community, you can be a leader in a large corporation, you may be a leader in your society, wherever you are. Excel in the space or in the sphere that you are put in to reflect or reveal what God has put in you.
Okay. I like the part where you talk about the power of self-talk. Are you talking about incantations or declarations of self? What exactly are you talking about? The stuff you say to yourself in the mirror when you're shaving.
When you're shaving in the morning, The assurance that you give yourself, the power of self-talk. So many times we listen to so many voices. And I ask the question half the time, which voice do you listen to? Because half the time when you're hearing the voices of society, the voices of negativity, the voices of people who give us doubt and everything. But half the time we never listen to our own voices. So when you look into the mirror, that is the time you can tell yourself you can do it. That is the time you can assure yourself. That is the time you declare victory over certain situations of your life. And many times I ask people, do you ever have alone time? Because alone time is where you are able to declare the power that you have, where you're able to claim the knowledge that you have and everything around you for you to succeed and make it in life.
You talk of the lead, you talk of passion, you talk of significance. Can you address those points and apply them to your own life?
So with the example of the lid, and I think all those words you're placing there, I'm talking about where you put the I. So the lid and the lid spelled L-I-D, the I is between two letters. But what does a lid mean? Something that closes. So even if it's between two letters, rise to the top and become a leader over the situations of your life. So the lid, you are squeezed between the L and the D, whatever your L and D situations are in life, rise to the top and cover those things, because that is what you are meant to be. You rise to the top. I talk about significance. Significance is a word, sign if I can. Sign if I can. And when you're saying sign if I can, you're saying wherever I go, I will leave a mark. Wherever I go, I will leave a mark. Come what may. Passion, I'm talking pass I on. Passing yourself over fully. Passing yourself over fully to everyone you are in. And I always say to people, wherever you go, leave a mark. Never give people a short-term version of yourself or a version of yourself that is disadvantaged. So when you pass yourself on, you are passionate about yourself, that you are able to pass yourself on to others.
And of course, the idiot thing is coming back to us again, where you talk about it in a slightly different context versus I do it. But are you actually saying if you are not applying your dreams, or if you are not activating your dreams, you are an idiot?
To some extent, because there are people who know what they are capable of, they know their potential, but at times they sit on it because of self-doubt. An idiot is someone who doesn't believe in themselves and probably does what pleases other people and not themselves. So they don't have a sense of self-value or self-worth to do what they want to do and what they can achieve.
Okay, can you apply all this to your own personal life,
Yeah.
your own history?
Well, so with the whole pastoral shenanigans that happened, and when I left the pastoral field, I came to a point where I realized the lid. Okay, Andile, you can rise even if you are not within the system. You can still be a leader even if you're not in the system. And there are people who get frustrated because they're out of the system and they can't do anything out of the system. But still they've got the gift to lead, they've got the gift to be in authority and the power to be. But they can't apply that because they think the system is everything that they've ever been given.
Yeah.
But God says, go out and have dominion in the world. So dominion and power,
Can you
all
just
over.
help the reader, the listener, understand the circumstances, some of which are unpleasant,
Yeah.
which led, because you're more or less excommunicated.
Yes, I was. And it's a story I tell everywhere I go because I think it's what built me to where I am today. If I hadn't gone through that at a young age, I probably wouldn't be here now. So I was a very young pastor, and I was called to preach all over the place. When it's a youth day, I'm the guest speaker, and there's something that comes with being young and being good looking, as you always say I am, and being eloquent, and there's a whole lot of temptation that comes with that. With the young women, mothers throwing their daughters at you seeing beautiful women, and next thing you're juggling them all over the place. So that's how I got.
You succumb to the pressure.
You succumb to the pressure. And that's why I talk about the humanity of a pastor as well. So I got excommunicated because of that, because there were too many stories around me and my female interactions. Yeah.
Okay, and then it led to you having to be found in a
compromising situation, which made me lose my job and go down my downward spiral.
Okay, talk about the blessing of time.
Yeah.
Is time itself a blessing?
Time is a beautiful blessing, and I think one of the revelations I write about in there is the Chronos time and the spirit,
Kairos time.
and the Kairos time and the spirit time, all those different times. But I always talk about Chronos and the spiritual time, the God's time, because at times we look at times.
Let's make a distinction between those two.
We are not in control of Chronos, but we succumb to Chronos. This is why we've got days, weeks, months, years, and everything that we can calculate. But spirit time works even without the Chronos. Yeah, spirit time
it's independent.
It's independent of Chronos, so it can reverse itself and make things right even in your time. Do you get what I'm saying? So this is why even when Jesus can get to the tomb of Lazarus, he's 4 days late. And that is Chronos time. That is the time we look at that, God, why are you so late?
Yeah.
But he says, no, in my time, I can make this man live. So there are certain things in our times where it looks like we have lost opportunities, where it looks like we have lost things that will make us succeed. But that is Chronos. Right? We look like, oh, I'm 40, but I've not achieved this. I'm this old, but I've not achieved this. But spirit time says, I will reward you when you're 41. It doesn't wait for your Chronos logic of time.
Yeah. What does Kairos time mean?
So Kairos time is just a space of it comes from, I think it's a Greek term. It's a Greek term to say, I forgot what it says, but it's more of
seasons of change.
Seasons of change. Yeah, seasons of change, where seasons come and go. But when the seasons are changing, you are still in the middle of the season. Sometimes you need to change with the season. In winter, this is why we end up wearing jackets. In summer, we wear t-shirts. Change with the season, but do not be changed by the season.
Okay. And of course, the great wise man Solomon talks about there being a time for everything.
For everything, yeah.
And is it something you've experienced?
It's something I've experienced. It is, because when I write, there's a time to die, there's a time to live, there's a time to plant, there's a time to harvest. So many times, and I'll talk about this from a business perspective, so many times I planted and wanted to harvest the following day. There was no patience of waiting for the seed to get roots and grow, water it, see the plant sprout out. It was always the instant gratification that I wanted, that I have invested this, I have put so much into this, what comes out of it? There's a time to live, there's a time to die. We talk about relationships. At times, we want to hold on so much to relationships because we have been in it so long, but at times it is dead. And so there are so many situations that I can give in my personal life as well, that I have given so much to things that are dead.
An example?
Yeah, so much.
For instance?
No, there's a relationship that I couldn't let go of. Yeah, because I thought, hey, I've spent 3 years with this woman, but
You felt you had invested.
I had invested so much. But at times, even your investment becomes a loss if it was with the wrong person.
So it's better to cut your losses.
You cut your losses.
And move
you
on.
cut your losses and move on, and want to gain further on.
Okay, when you say men are the reason behind the relationship and women are the emotion,
Yeah.
what are you saying?
So I gave her an example there in the book where I'm talking about a man and a woman shopping. Every time you're shopping with a lady, she'll always come and ask you, even if she knows it looks good on her, she'll come and ask you, baby, what do you think about this dress? Just so that she hears your point of view. She's emotionally attached to it, the color, the size, the cut, and everything. So she wants to get a second opinion.
Like validation.
Like validation. So this is why I say men are the reason. So the man will reason and say, okay, no, but baby, it's a bit too short. But can you get another longer one? Even if she likes it. And then because of that, she will say, okay, no, I like it, but I'll get a longer one because of the reason that has been given to me. I don't want it to be open to everyone else for them to see me. And it's also the example of Adam and Eve, where Adam is the one who's given the ability to name the animals, to be the smart one, to everything. Not that women are not smart, but the fact that the woman is emotionally invested in Adam, for Adam to be the one who sometimes makes decisions for the family.
Okay. All right. Something else which I found juicy is when you say prisons all over are full of empty men who longed to fill themselves at the expense of someone else.
Yeah.
I want you to unpack that because that sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I look at prisons. Fine, I don't have the statistics of how many women are in prisons and all, but I look at prisons and I look at how empty the men are. The men wanted gratification, they wanted money, they wanted relations, they wanted a whole lot of stuff that they could not get, and so their emptiness led them to want to fill themselves because of the void that was left by probably an absent father, by a detached mother, by bad relations in the family. So there's a void with men. If you go in and look at how they try to recuperate them, they are not trying to recuperate a thief. They are trying to recuperate a broken man who became a thief.
They talk of it as rehabilitation.
As rehabilitation, yes. So that's where the challenge is, that men all over, if you look at the statistics of men who are in prison, are broken men.
All right. Having enemies is a blessing.
Yeah.
What enemies were actually a blessing for you?
Well, when I was writing the book, the context of enmity was in the context of those who I knew were doing what I did, but kicked me out of the church because they were not caught. Yeah. So you become an enemy because you want to portray yourself better. Yet you are worse because you've not been caught, so you're still living in your little dark corner. And I read about it as well later on, that at times being exposed is a good thing. So the enemies I look at as people who are a stepping stone.
Yeah, being exposed is a good thing because now you stop the sin.
You stop the sin. You stop the sin, and you're able to what's the word? You're able to continually better yourself and not want to be caught within. And not want to be caught within that space. Yeah. So when I talk of enemies, I always talk about them as a prerequisite to achieving your blessing. And this is why David even writes, he prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. They are there, they are around, they may see the blessing, they may see you being blessed, but they may not be able to partake.
Are you not also saying that as a result of your enemies behaving so badly towards you, you received a bigger blessing?
True.
Yeah.
That also, because the expansion I got and the reach I got of touching people's lives became even more after that, after my ordeal. I started getting calls from people to come and speak in Zimbabwe, in Zambia, in South Africa, just for people to experience. And this is what God says, that I will enlarge your territory.
I don't think I would have had an opportunity to work with you as my PA. And
Probably
HR
not. Probably
if
not.
It hadn't been
if it hadn't been for that.
Yeah.
So this is why I talk about the networks,
because
the opportunities.
you then went from being a pastor, you went and did courses in HR.
In HR, in sales and marketing.
Became an author.
everything.
All those things you would not have done
without that.
Yeah.
Without that ordeal.
Yeah,
Without
but at the
that
time
ordeal.
it seemed like a nightmare.
It was a nightmare because it's the judgment, it's the skepticism of this guy. Who is this guy? What is he talking about? But at the end of the day, people end up listening, and I had doors being closed in my face because they would say, "Oh no, Andyle is going to preach in South Africa, or he's going to speak in South Africa." They would pick up the phone and block my appointment. Do you know what I'm saying? So those were things I went through, and I realized, you know what? At times, the end of what you thought was your dream is actually the beginning of another.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you say half of the people who are angry at do not know we are even angry at them?
Because so many of us want an apology to forgive. But the best apology or the best forgiveness is in the absence of an apology. I don't need to come to you and say, Mogobe, I'm sorry for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before you can forgive me. You actually forgive me before I come and apologize. There are people I smile with because I've forgiven them and I've never got an apology from. And that's a very hard concept for people to grasp, because so many people was like, if you apologize, then I will forgive you. But that's not. This is why on the cross he says, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Half the people sometimes do not know that they've wronged us, and they wait for us to voice it that, okay, I've been wronged, for them to come and apologize. But when you forgive them wholeheartedly in the absence of an apology, that is when you become at peace. And peace comes from the absence of an apology, but from the fullness of forgiveness that you give to them.
Wow. Another thing you have to unpack for us is the notion that you trusted the hands that dropped you.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I take it from the story of Mephibosheth, the young guy who, when the Israelites were being attacked, the crippled guy, the little boy, he's 4 years old, he's dropped by a nurse, and he becomes crippled for life. He's meant to be prince, he's meant to be the heir of the kingdom and all that. But then he's dropped at a very young age, and that cripples him for the rest of his life and doesn't make him fit for being ruler or prince or king. So I when I say I trusted the hands that dropped me, I gave my all to a system or to people who did not care about me even when I had fallen. Yeah, they held me up when the time was right, but when everything went wrong in my life, they dropped me and crippled me and let me be. Yeah. And so many times people will say it's a victim mentality, but at times you want to be carried by the people who you were with in the system. You want a shoulder to cry on when things are not going right in your life. You want people to be there with you.
But aren't you playing victim by saying that?
No, not really, because there's always a support system. Half the times when things were good, they were around. But when things go bad and I come to you and tell you things are bad, and then, hey, that's how I felt. Because I was like, when things were good and everything was good, we were the best of friends. But now, because I want to talk to you about what I've done wrong, what I'm going through and everything, you now don't want to be associated with me. Because of, no, the system will say, the people will say. And it's I trusted you. I opened up to you. But now when things go wrong or things go right, left, you are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, the word blesser currently in Botswana has negative connotations. But there's a chapter where you talk about the blessing of a blesser. In what way is a blesser a blessing?
So in the context that I'm writing there, I'm writing so with the connotation of it being negative in our space today, I was literally just appealing to the young people that, listen, look for someone who gives you what you are worth. Half the blessers give these young girls what they think the girls are worth, not what the girls are worth. So when you're
talking about people at university, college level, youngsters being bought cell phones
for a night in a shabby hotel or whatever it is. So when I'm talking about the blessing of the blesser, know your value and say, listen. And it comes to what you call this, knowing that at the end of the day you will get your gratification, you will get whatever you need. It's not a phone.
You just need to delay it.
Delay it. If it's a cell phone that you want, work for it. And the blesser, who is God.
It's only a matter of 4 years, 3-4 years.
And that's it.
And in the meantime, you can use a Sedilami.
Even if it's not a Sedilami, it's a phone with WhatsApp. You can communicate on Facebook. You are good to go. So when I was talking about the blessing of the blesser, I was like, the longer you wait for what you are waiting for, God gives you more and more than you have ever expected.
Okay. And I believe you're writing this in the context of the pandemic as well.
Yes, I'm writing it in the pandemic, in the context of the pandemic, because when we look at what was going through the pandemic, many people lost a lot of things. They lost jobs, they lost houses, they lost their security, they lost families, children, everything. But when you look at all that, and then when you come out of it, you look and say, okay, but there's a lesson learned. There's a blessing out of all that. And I always say to people, the word through itself, when you say I'm going through, you are not saying I'm stuck in this. You're saying I'm just going to come out of it. Once you're saying through, you're saying I am optimistic enough to see the outcome of me being in this situation. You don't say I am stuck in this. You say, no, I'm going through a problem, because you are optimistic that you're going to come out of it.
I find this it's slightly controversial when you say no woman ought to chase a man if he expects him to respect him. You cannot take the role of the man in chasing him. Isn't that a bit controversial from the point of view that we're liberated, we're supposed to be equals?
I think we're meant to be equals, but when we look at a whole lot of the context that we are in today, men who are chased by women end up losing a certain level of decision making that has been put onto them.
In what sense?
Spiritually, by God and everything. Because now the woman feels entitled to control. Not that we were meant to control them, but let's let nature take its course. This is why the first thing when Adam sees Eve, he says, this is now going to be bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. I will call her woman because she is of me and I am of her. Equal in nature, but different in responsibility and role.
Some say he said, wow,
man.
Wow, man. And then became woman.
So it's him being mesmerized to say, I will chase this woman. And look at it this way. Half the women who are chased by men are valued by the man, because the man knows the time it took to chase this woman. It took to Porsche. He knows how much to woo her in and make her believe in his vision. So he ends up valuing that woman with everything that he has.
Okay. And you give examples of blessing irrespective of gender, blessing irrespective of age, blessing irrespective of territory. And it seems like you have undergirded all this thinking from the Holy Book, the Bible.
Yes. I'm well read. I've touched on the Quran. I've touched on the Torah. I've touched on the Bible itself. I touch on everything, even the 5 books of the law. You just touch on all that just to get a whole rounded perspective of your audience and who you're writing to. With the background in Hebrew and Greek as well, you're able to contextualize it into the Greek philosophy, and also putting that Greek philosophy into today's living, just to make sense of everything. So when your reader reads, he's not saying, but he's talking from a Christian perspective. We're also talking from a realistic perspective.
Wonderful. I think the reader will have to pick the book for themselves.
True.
Where is it available?
I sell it out of my boot. I've tried to put it in at one of the shops, the bookshop, Exclusive Books. At the time, they were saying they're not taking local books, but I've seen a couple of late. So I've approached them again, because it's a franchise from outside the country. So I've approached them again and submitted it. And so I'm waiting for that approval, and then it'll be back on the shelves. But for now, I sell it from my boot. If you want to order, much? It's for $150 a copy. It was $200 when I launched it. That was about a year or two ago. But I've taken it down to $150, and I've sold over 300 copies of the book.
Wow.
Yeah.
It will soon be multiple thousands.
After
this interview. A blessing of ownership. In what way is ownership a blessing?
There's nothing as great as owning something and knowing it's yours. You don't owe anyone. No one's gonna come wake you up at night and say, hey, can I have my money, or whatever it is. Just the fact that you own something. And this is what I think the Jewish culture teaches, that being in full ownership of stuff, or of anything, property, of your time, of everything, is the best gift you can ever give to yourself. So that is a blessing on its own, when you have got nothing and no one chasing after you for what it is that you own.
What are you saying to entrepreneurs on this issue of ownership?
Yeah. Well, when I talk about to entrepreneurs, we're basically saying, do not, how do I put this? Do not want to undermine yourself. Whatever it is that you have, own it and grow it. In Botswana, we've got a whole lot of startups, and some of them fail at infancy because people don't own their own product. They don't believe it's going to grow. They don't believe. You knock on doors, you come and ask for investment, you come in this, and doors are closed in front of your face, left, right, and center. But once you own it, no matter which door is closed and you still believe in it, it will eventually happen.
I like something that that I can quote from the book.
Yeah.
Mr. Job understood this very well.
Yes.
Job from the Bible. Since he was God's property and his responsibility, a well-founded relationship enabled faithfulness to simmer.
Yeah.
A relationship is a prerequisite for faithfulness, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Check this out. Because Job had a relationship with God, he prayed, he worshipped, and he depended.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it is. Because when Satan comes to Job, he says, when Satan goes to God, do you see that? He goes to God and says, can I touch this man of yours? God says, okay, go touch him, but don't touch what he has. I mean, you can touch what he has, but don't touch who he is. Because God knows who he is his property, right? So God owns Job, but doesn't own what the hell Job has. Do you know what I'm saying? So no matter how much you touch what Job has.
I thought Job would be the steward and God is the ultimate owner.
Yes, he's the ultimate owner. He's just the steward. He's taking care of what God has given him.
Yeah.
So when you touch what Job has, Job's relationship is not affected because he knows he can receive double of what has been taken away from him. Yeah.
Okay, and let's practicalize that. I mean, I really want this idea of ownership at a practical level. You mentioned, of course, that you hinted at the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs don't own their product.
Yeah.
How can we change that reality?
I think it's a matter of driving into them that, you know what, no matter how much it is that you think you have, believe it yourself first. Have a belief to say this can change the spectrum of where we are right now. This can change the society we're in. This can change the country that we are in. And if you look at countries like Chinese own whatever they have. They guard it with everything that they have, be it a product, be it a cell phone, be it whatever it is. They guard it with whatever they have. So that when they are selling it to other markets, they already know that this is fully ours. Half the time when we are selling stuff...
The same happens with the West as well.
Yeah, with the West as well. But when we are selling, we are saying, okay, let's go 50-50. Because we just want the little bit of the cake. We don't want the whole cake. That's where our challenge is.
Well, aren't we influenced by statements like 5% of something is better than 100% of nothing?
But that is where the African is now undermined, because he'll want the 5%. But yet when the Western comes, he wants the 100%.
Yeah. If anything, the 95%.
If anything, he wants the bigger chunk. So we will always settle for the lesser chunk because we are scared to suffer. We are scared. We just want to break even. And I think that's where we miss it.
There's something about Job's wife when she comes to Job and said, are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die. Can you speak to that one, because it's a very troublesome one.
Yeah. Well, it's and let me not put it from a wife's perspective. Let me talk about it from someone you trusted perspective. These people wake up in the same bed. They stay in the same house. They share everything together. They've got children together. But she's the same person who doesn't see the value of what they have because it is going down the drain now. So what they have is going down the drain, but Job still has God, who he knows will give her even more, will give him even more. So when she says, curse God and die, Job is like, I will not curse God because I know he's the ultimate giver of everything we've ever owned. Yeah. So if anything, you, ma'am, can leave, but I will still hold on to my God. And that's a situation we must talk about today, that at times our friends, the people who are in our circles,
even people who share a bed with us.
A bed with us, yes.
Yeah.
At times, the fact that they don't see our vision, or it's delaying, or it's taking time, or whatever it is, They will tell us, why don't you try something else? Yet you see the little steps that you're taking are developing into something big.
Yeah. Blessing of healing.
Yeah.
Is this in healing as in miraculous healing?
No. This is healing of the heart. And I think when I was writing in context of being broken.
Yeah.
So when my heart was broken, my vision was broken, a lot of stuff was broken in my space. So when I talk about healing, healing started from within before I could start going out there. When it hurts the most, it was hurting within. So when I talk the blessing of healing, I'm saying it is what is within that heals first. Your brokenness starts from within. Your healing starts from within. Don't ever think that you will be fine and cover up yourself and say, no, the more I hang out with people, I'll get lava sharp. At times you become disappointed or frustrated even in the presence of people. You can be around people but still be lonely. But you can be alone and still be the best company ever to yourself. And that is where the greatest healing comes from.
Okay. Is it self-healing you are referring to?
I'm referring to self-healing.
And it involves what? Getting into the word or?
Well, I think it revolves around introspection. Being introspecting on what has happened to you, accepting what has happened to you, finding ways of getting out of what has happened to you, and then eventually implementing the ways that you have been introspecting about.
Okay. Situations should never change your manhood.
Yeah.
But your manhood must be proven in the situations. Using Andyle Mhlanga as an example. Help us understand that.
So when I'm talking about that, I was talking about, yes, I was swayed and shaken by what happened to me. That was a situation. But I was like, for me to show myself a man and prove myself man enough, the situation should not change my outlook, but rather broaden my outlook and see things from a different perspective. So when I say your manhood is proven within the situation, it is how you react to the situation to say, there is a man who came out of challenges. There is a man who came out of trouble. There is a man who looked at situations and said, I can come out better than how the situation found me.
Okay, the situation at church and how you were excommunicated is obviously at the center of all this.
Yeah.
Is there any other experience you've had from which you've built, where you suffered significant setbacks and then built on that?
Yeah, I think the one I'll talk deeply, it'll always come back to the one from church and everything. But the one I'd always talk about is when I had started abuse of drugs and alcohol and everything, where I was literally drinking every single day. It was a downward spiral.
Is this when you were in South Africa?
No, this was when I was in America.
In America, okay.
My mom had sent me to America, just go and recuperate and everything. But I think that was one of the worst decisions she ever made.
Which state in America?
I was in Indianapolis. Yeah. So I think that was one of the worst decisions she ever made. I was not in the right frame of mind to be there. Because that's where you are alone. You are able to do whatever you want. There's no parent looking at you.
When was this?
This was 2014. Yeah.
And of course, we've been influenced by this rap culture.
The rap culture, you're smoking everything, you are trying every drug, you are drinking everything and anything that is there. And that ultimately leads you into other things. More women, more debt. You're doing drugs, so you sell and everything. You're now semi-gangster. And you're exposed to a whole lot of danger. So that was me down there, and I'm looking at myself, and that's where I think that my first book came from, When Dreams Don't Come True. When Dreams Don't Come True, coming from the fact that I wanted to be a pastor so bad, but now I've done something wrong, and I've been excommunicated in a way that I feel is unfair. My dream has been broken. What do you do when your dream doesn't come true? So one day I'm sitting, I'm sobering up, but I'm still tipsy. I'm sobering up. I just take my laptop and just wrote "When Dreams Don't Come True."
Right there in India.
Yes. And then I just write a simple "When Dreams Don't Come True," and that was the first. The first line I wrote just became the title of the book. From there, I started writing, just writing. Then I realized, this story is gaining momentum, and this is a story about my life. And then from there, I just chaptered it. And then it became a book.
A book.
Yeah.
And it did very well.
No, it did quite well, because many people were asking themselves, but exactly what happened to this guy? Hey, we used to see him on the pulpit almost every Saturday. Now he's nowhere to be found on Facebook. What's going on with this dude?
Yeah.
So I think they read it just to have an understanding of what exactly went on.
So how do you turn things around when you're in the States?
So one day, I'm drunk. I'm drunk, and I'm waking up in an alley. I've got my phone on me. I've got everything on me. Nothing was stolen from me, but I'm in an alley, and I look at myself and I'm like,
did you pass out?
I passed out, yeah.
Like a blackout?
Yeah, blackout. Yeah. So I don't know for how long I was sleeping there. I look at myself, I'm like, okay, I'm unharmed. No one stole anything of mine. My shoes are still on. This is divine protection. It didn't make sense to me. So I go home, and this is...
You didn't know how you got there?
No, I didn't know how I got there. Because I remember the last thing I was doing was going home, waiting for a cab. But now I'm in an alley. I find a little bin, and that's where I put my head to rest and slept. So my realization was, okay, but dude, you're more than this. You're more than this. It reminds me of the story of the prodigal son. It says when he came to his senses. So I think that was my moment of coming to my senses. To say, but dude, you can't be sleeping in an alley. Dude, you think more than this. You're smarter than this. So I remember I sent my mom a text. I was like, Mom, if you want me to die without ever seeing you again, don't buy me a return ticket. That December, she bought me a return ticket, and that's how I came back.
Yeah.
Because I could see if I was there, I was never going to make it back.
By that you meant you want a one-way ticket?
Yeah, I want a one-way ticket back. I'll rather come and die here in Mobotswana.
Which is why people get so crazy about America. I don't know. I get on the news, there's a black guy being shot by the police, or there's a bunch of crazies just shooting black people in a
no
supermarket. Just because of hate. The level of hate is so high. So sometimes I don't understand why people want to go
the hype. I think it's the American dream. It's the freedom that you have. You're able to do a whole lot there. Besides the crime,
the freedom includes the freedom to be shot anytime.
And sadly, but most of the time when you leave, you're not thinking, I'm going to get shot. You're thinking,
because I don't think they're going to mess with the Second Amendment.
No, they won't.
I mean, they just want all their armaments, and even bazookas. If they could own tanks, they would.
They would. And sadly, they're a trigger-happy country. Yeah, a trigger-happy country.
Yeah. But probably that's part of the reason you wanted to come back.
Yeah, I think it was the self-destruction. Trust me, I was free to do whatever I wanted. Yes, there's the whole race thing where you're walking down the street, someone's throwing an egg at you, or someone is just calling you a name, and you experience that once in a while.
Yeah.
But besides that, you're not going to paint the whole country with a bad...
No, you're not, because there's some very
good people who I met very well, and enjoyed myself with them, who we still are in touch even up to today. So with all that, when I told Mom one-way ticket back home, I was like, I can see where this is going. I can see where this is going.
Yeah. And speaking of one ticket back home, give us a little bit about your background, about the move from Zimbabwe to Botswana.
Yeah.
Because now Botswana is back home.
It's back home. No longer Zimbabwe. Exactly, yeah.
Can you explain to us that element?
Yeah. I literally grew up here. So my dad was a teacher here at TCE, the College of Education in the 90s. And literally the day I was born, he was driving back to Botswana for a lesson. Yeah. So I literally grew up in Tonota. From Tonota, moved to Molepulule. From Molepulule to Gaborone. So I know more of Botswana than I know of Zimbabwe. So I know more of Botswana more than I know of Zimbabwe. So even my parents have been here, this is 34 years now? Yeah. So I resonate more with Botswana than I do with Zim. So when I was saying I'm coming back home, I'm coming back to a space that I know and to a place that I grew up in. Yeah.
Blessing of leftovers. What in this context is a leftover?
In this context, I was writing about in my personal space. I was depleted. And I was depleting myself. And what was left over was, dude, but there's a God somewhere. Dude, there's something within. Dude, there's something you can do. Dude, there's an element of leadership, an element of...
That's a self-talk.
That's a self-talk. To say, what is left over that you can work with? There's something that you can still work with to influence, to empower, to grow, to strive, and to help other people who probably have gone through that but are not able to talk about it. So what was left over was just that little tiny bit to say, okay, there's a little piece that you can work with and make people understand what they are and who they are in the space of their brokenness.
Okay, let's talk about Brand Andyle.
Yeah.
And let's grab that crystal ball. What is in store 10 years, 15 years for Brand Andyle And for the company, the motivational company,
Acers.
Acers,
yeah. Well, Acers, and my tagline is bringing out the ace in you.
Yeah.
Because I believe everyone's got an ace, and an ace is that card that wins a game in a game of poker. I think I'm looking at being one of the biggest team developers in the country, and probably in Southern Africa. When you want a team building session, you know this is value for money. This is where we are getting the best team building ever. I'm being called by big organizations to come and do their team buildings. And this is just at the infancy of the company. Yeah. So I'm looking at 5 years, 10 years from now, when I've rubber stamped my ability to team build and to organizational develop some of the companies, to say, okay, there is a young man who started from infancy and he's still doing whatever he's doing. Yeah.
So you foresee yourself developing other trainers like yourself?
Yes, I do. I've got a couple of mentees, young guys who used to come to me. I also do MCing. So there are some guys who would come to me and say, hey, dude, teach us how to MC, teach us how to run a show and everything. So I look forward to that, where young people come and say, we want to learn team building, we want to work under you, give us mentorship, give us, if you're doing a job, come through and we do this with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blessed with nothing. You say some people are not comfortable with having nothing.
Yeah.
How is having nothing a blessing?
Because that's the space for you to create something.
Oh.
Yeah. So at times, nothingness is actually a blessing. Where you are broke, finished, you don't know where your next meal is coming from. What does that teach you? Creativeness for you to make that. Ways that you could make that.
Well, a guy called Damon John, one of the sharks in Shark
Yes, I know him very well.
He's written a book called The Power of Broke.
Yeah.
Where he emphasizes the importance that, founders and, entrepreneurs should stop being despondent and angry and demoralized by being broke. Yeah. Because that's an opportunity to build.
Yeah. I took that from the movie Pursuit of Happiness, Will Smith, where it's a real life story where he is broke.
Yeah.
He loses his job, he loses his family, loses his wife.
Ends up living in some toilets.
Some toilets with his little son.
Yeah.
But that didn't stop him. The space of nothingness always gives you a push. So never look at it as if you've got nothing.
Yeah.
That's the vacuum and that's the space for you to create.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the challenge is appreciating it for what it is when you're going through it.
When you're going through it. Yeah. When you're going through it.
Okay. Between anointing and appointing, there's a blessing there.
Yeah. There's a blessing between anointing. I take it from the experience of Saul and David. Yeah. Saul is king. He's sitting on the throne. David is a little boy out in the field. He's taking care of his father's sheep.
Yeah.
Saul is appointed the king by the Israelites. The Israelites say, give us a king. And Samuel appoints him as king, or the Israelites appoint him as king.
Because he was good looking.
He was good looking, head and shoulders above the rest, the Bible says.
He was tall.
Yeah, he was tall. Yeah. So whilst he's appointed, there's still someone who's being anointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So within that anointing and appointing, there is someone who is sitting where you're sitting right now, but you are anointed for it. Be patient, you will get to the top.
That's very difficult to appreciate, isn't it?
Very.
That's like being an understudy.
Yeah. And I think that's the space of mentorship. That's the space of guidance, which most of us need. Because when I look at you, and I'll say this, I look at you and I say, one day that's going to be me.
Yeah.
I'll have my own company, I'll have my own thing, I'll be the top, I'll be the decision maker.
Yeah.
And so many times, we want to be the decision maker now.
Yeah.
But do we have the experience? No. Do we have the wisdom? No. Do you have the know-how? No. Do you have the experience? We don't have nothing. The network, nothing. So get your mentor's network.
Yeah.
Learn from him. Everything, the ins and outs, understudy him. And that's how it is. So this is why David becomes a better king than Saul when he comes onto the throne, because he's anointed for it, but he still lets Saul live his appointment time.
In this case, it's very wonderful and very intriguing, because he had two opportunities to kill Saul. And he avoided that because he respected the office of king.
So he respected the office of king who is appointed, and he respected his anointing.
Yeah.
He didn't want to rush into office without the experience of how to be the king.
Even though Saul wanted to kill him.
Even though Saul wanted to kill him.
Yeah, it's a remarkable story. A stepfather will never be your father.
Yeah.
Really? It takes a rare quality of a man to be called father.
Yeah.
how can a stepfather not be a father if he loves you? It doesn't take somebody to offer the actual sperm
to be a father.
Yeah.
True, and I fully agree with that. But that one I was writing in the context of people who, and I think it takes a very quality of a man, of fathers who have left their children, to the mercy of a stepfather.
Yeah.
So when a father looks at that and he's comfortable and happy that his children are being raised by another man, then he's you can't call him father.
Yeah.
He's just a man who brought you here, but he's not your father.
Yeah. So is that experiential or
no? I think I was just writing from a space of I was just writing from a space of people understanding the growth and the space we are in today in our lives, where people are being raised by people who are not their fathers. Yeah.
Let's conclude about the blessing of being broken, which is the title of the book.
Yeah.
Just wrap it up for us.
Yeah.
How was being broken a blessing? Looking back.
Yeah, I think when I look back now, it was a beautiful blessing because I look back and I see, had I not been broken by the things that happened to me and the things that I experienced, I would not be here. It revealed the tenacity within me, the endurance, the creative space, the know-how for me to network and get to know people. Back then, I thought I knew it all because I was in a space where I'm preaching every Saturday. I'm the pastor who's being called every Saturday. I know it all. I get a big head.
Yeah.
So that needed to be broken. Hey, Papa, humble yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, learn.
Yeah.
Grow. Handle situations like this.
Those who exalt themselves will be humbled.
Will be humbled.
Those who humble themselves
will be lifted. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I look back and humiliation. I mean, being humbled always links to humiliation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you don't want to be humbled, but you are humbled through circumstances and you're forced to be. Yeah. So I went through circumstances and situations that
it's almost like if you do not humble yourself, you're going to be humiliated into being humble.
Into being humble.
It's like
yeah. So it's something that I went through, and the humiliation, to some extent or to a greater extent, gave me self-worth.
Yeah.
Gave me value to give myself a voice, to speak to myself.
Yeah.
Okay, Andyle, you're humiliated. You're embarrassed by what people are saying about you. What do you say about yourself?
Yeah.
And I had a voice eventually that speaks to myself each and every morning. When I'm in the shower, when I'm shaving, getting a haircut, looking myself in the mirror, I always give myself words of affirmation, declare that, hey, dude, today you're going out, this is what you're going to achieve. Dude, you're going to give the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And how have things turned around? I know that you're a father of 2 kids now, you're happily married.
Yeah.
And how have things turned around now from all those situations of brokenness?
Well, I think it's for the good, because now I've got two young boys who I look at with everything I have, and I say, you know what? They've got a father who they can look at and say, that's a man who experienced a whole lot. And I think I've got lessons enough to teach them. Yeah. I think I will be a better father now, because when I see them going a certain route, let them experience it. But now you have got the guidance to say, should it happen to you, this is how you handle it.
Yeah. And you talk of phases: introductory, growth, maturity, decline, and now renewal.
Yeah.
Which phase would you say you're at?
Right now I'm in the renewal stage.
Yeah.
Renewal phase.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one has to go through all these
through all that. It's the product life cycle. When a product is it's introduced to the market, people love it. Oh, okay, what's this product? We want to know it.
Yeah.
It goes up.
That's the introductory phase.
Yeah, that's the introductory phase. And then what's the second one?
The growth.
The growth phase. So it's now on the market. It's growing. Everyone is buying it. Everyone's buying it. It matures. It's now stagnant. And then okay, no, what's going on?
And then
it declines because a new product has come into the market. Right?
And then the renewal.
And then the renewal is rebranding.
Yeah.
So look at companies.
So the same thing happens to human beings.
Yeah. Introduced by birth.
Yeah.
You grow. Everyone loves you. You mature, you come to an age where now there's another baby who was born, when I was sharp, you're going through experiences of life and everything.
Yeah.
You decline, you're not on the market. Now you have to rebrand yourself so that you have the same value that you once were when people loved you.
And it's almost like you start the process.
You start the process all over again. And this is why probably people say life begins at 40.
Yeah. Well, 50 is the new 40.
Yeah.
If you're not tired of living with someone else's blessing, you're not ready for God's blessing.
Yeah.
That was a quotation from Andyle.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking at the story of Jacob and Esau.
Yeah.
When Jacob finally says he had stolen his brother's birthright, stolen his brother's blessing, he had run away, he had made his...
No, let's correct that. At some point, the brother sold his birthright.
Through a cheat. That was Jacob.
No, the guy was hungry. He could not wait.
Yeah, but because the brother was smart enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the context you are bringing it from.
Yeah, but the guy is the one who actually said, no, I'm selling you my birthright. Yeah. He said it.
But as the young brother and knowing the value of the birthright, but because of the cheat, he's taking advantage of it.
Yeah, there was this cheating element.
There's a cheat element. He's taking advantage of it. Yeah, but he's gone through all that. But when he comes back from his wilderness experience, he comes back now as a man who now knows his value. And he says, okay, I am sorry. Everything that I've accumulated, I'll give you half.
Yeah.
He knows the value of the blessing.
Yeah.
So he was tired of living with his brother as much as he has accumulated.
And he did?
Yeah, he did. He did. When they met, he gave him up because he was haunted by what had happened to him in the experience. He was cheated as well by his father-in-law Laban.
Yeah.
Because of so he's tired of living with someone else's blessing because
if you call it cheating, because Leah gave him 10 kids. But Rachel 2 kids.
But there was a cheating of some heaven, which turned out into a blessing as well, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that...
But of course, he loved Rachel.
He loved Rachel more. Yeah. But I think that's where he was tired of living with a blessing that was not his. Okay. He says, now I want my own blessing. And this is why at the end he says to the angel when they are wrestling, he says, I will not let you go until you bless me, because he wants something he can claim as his own.
Is that the time when his
hip was dislocated, yes. Yeah, he says, I won't let you go until I have a blessing that I can claim as my own. And his name is now changed from Jacob to Israel. Now we know him as the father of the Israelites. That's a blessing he can carry everywhere he goes.
Okay, as we're about to conclude our conversation, what question do you have for me, sir?
Yeah. No, I think it's a question and a comment at the same time. I love your energy. I love your zeal. You're young at heart. Yeah. Even when you walk in the office, you're very young at heart and you carry yourself that way. We see you on social media, very young at heart. And the question would be, what keeps you so energetic and so happy?
Well, it's a gift of life, because I don't take it for granted, not for one moment.
Yeah.
It excites me, it enthuses me. I mean, our tagline, enthuse, energize, inspire, and empower. Yeah. So I think that is the main thing, and God's blessing, appreciating every day. I mean, it's David who said, "There's a day that the Lord has made, and I'll rejoice and be glad in it." Yeah. So I try to look at every day like that, and try to maintain a positive mindset. And working with people like you, Andyle, I mean, it's a special privilege to work with somebody whose presence you enjoy, whose attitude you like, and who's positive all the time. And it's not just you. The new team is exceptional. I have an exciting team. It took a while to get to, and to be also working with my kids. I mean, CD and Sekhela here, to be able to work with them as well. So it's almost like it's a nirvana state, when things are just... Everything seems to be gelling. Yeah. So
and it was a process to get there.
Yes. So maybe I'm in a renewal stage like you.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff.
Now this is the time you look at that camera over there.
Yeah.
And just say a few words of encouragement, a few words of motivation as we wrap up our conversation.
Yeah. Well, I think what I'd say to the viewer and to the listener out there is, whatever you're going through, go through it. It's the experience that you will learn and come out of, that will influence where you are going. So never be despondent about the situation. I think we've touched on it today, that when you're broke, when you've got nothing, that is the vacuum for your creative space or for your creative prowess to come out, for you to achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. So if you're going through as an entrepreneur, as a startup company, as a company owner, whatever it is, whatever you're going through, experience it. Is it the court cases? Is it whatever you're losing? Whatever it is, it doesn't look like it's stable. Go through that, because at the end of the day, there is going to be victory and a silver lining at the end.
Okay, can you please share with them your contact details, where you can be reached?
All right, Thabo Andyle Mhlanga on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Acers Development Agency on Facebook and on Instagram. Acers Development Agency, that's where you can keep in touch with what we are doing for our teams, team building, organizational development, and also personal development.
Not forgetting 397 1368
Yeah.
at Mogobe
At Mogobe, yeah.
Mogobe Incorporated.
Yeah.
Or for the purpose of the nuggets.
Of the nuggets, yes.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you very much. You've been
All
a
right.
wonderful guest. You've done a great job.
Thank you very much.
Okay, great stuff.